From the 22 News Plus studio, this is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of InFocus. Today is going to be a wonderful show if you are a fan of music, both locally and nationally. I'm so honored today to be joined in the 22 News Plus studio by Peter J Newland. Peter, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. This is one of those interviews I've been looking forward to because you're a local legend. Everybody who follows music here in the greater Springfield area for the last 50 plus years,
you can say it,
knows you, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And as well, we're going to hear you sing an original song or parts of an original song,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
So let's go back in time, Peter, to the time when you were, a teenager, you're a young boy. When did you fall in love with music?
Well, I always loved it. When I was a child, my parents had their records around, and we sang the show tunes and stuff like that. I saw Elvis. I snuck out of the house and saw Elvis, and that's when I
Springfield Civic
first.
Center, right?
What?
At the Springfield Civic Center?
No, on TV.
Oh, okay.
I'm that old, and that hit me, and then my mother was really involved in the Catholic Church. She was she always had a lot of seminarians and priests around the house. And one time when I was, 13 or 14, one of the guys brought a guitar, and as soon as I saw that and heard that, I knew that.
Roughly what year was that?
It was probably 52, I think, 53. Right.
Okay, so really kind of the very beginning of what we would call rock music, right?
Absolutely, yeah, really. Because, shortly thereafter, I saw Elvis on TV, and then I had a friend who was in the musical instrument business, and he asked me, who do you think the most influential musicians were? And everybody always says the Beatles, but he said, no, it was really Peter, Paul, and Mary and the Kingston Trio, because they played such a simple music that kids finally figured out, I don't have to this isn't something for me just to listen to. Right. I can go get my little guitar and I can do this too.
They were playing basic chords and songs.
Absolutely. So it was easy for us to become musicians. So it was around that initial folk period. And then when Bob Dylan's first record came out, I was really snagged by that. And then I played acoustically. And then when the Beatles and Rolling Stones, that whole thing happened, I was a Stones guy. And I put together my first band at 16 or 17.
And you were a songwriter too. You're not just a musician. You're
right?
A very prolific songwriter.
Well, yeah. From the very, very beginning, I had that urge, and I still, I hang around. I try to get to know everybody. And when I joined my second band, I was at Holy Community College, and 67, 68, and the guys. I'd been left a band just recently, and met some guys there that were playing, and I went to their rehearsal, and I said, I want to do this, but only if we write our own material. So I wanted to write. I was writing as soon as I was playing.
Wow.
And I think that's a split that sometimes is lost on people is the original aspect of it. And there was a really very fertile, original music scene here back in the late 60s.
Really?
Yeah. And we ended up with 2 record deals and our independent deal. Clean Living ended up with a couple of records on Vanguard. NRBQ was in and out of here. Al Anderson and the Wild Weeds. That was that whole period of time.
Okay.
And so much was focused. We sort of broke in when it was top 40 was cover bands.
Right.
But then we started writing, and it flipped. And so about 10, 15 years, there was the emphasis was on original music here. And I will have to say that me and Norman Shelf from Clean Living kind of spearheaded that in Western Mass.
Okay. And then you began the band Fat. Talk to me about it.
Right. Well, that was that story I was telling you. I took a year off. Worked at American Standard, making toilet seats. Probably sat on some of my best work, and And then I went to Holyoke Community College, and the first week I was there, I ran into Michael Benson, who was playing with a guy named Jim Kaminsky from Southwick, and that started right there. We didn't come up with a name for a little while, but then we got Guy DeVito on bass from West Springfield, and Richard and William Benjamin on bass from West Springfield, and we were signed to RCA within a year. So
really,
it was
from the moment. I mean, within a year of you guys getting together, forming Fat, you got a record deal.
We did a major.
That's
record
amazing.
Deal. It really is. It's kind of unheard of. So, and then that, but getting a record deal and keeping a record deal, or getting a record deal and having it take off, are two different things. So that we had that deal for about a year and a half, 2 years, and then and they dropped us. This was during the protest period, and we wrote a protest song. They weren't really wild about that at RCA, but we went on to. I decided we would make our own record after that, and so we had an independent record and record label in 1975.
Okay,
and my plan was always to use that to get re-signed, and so we did. We got within a couple of years after that, we were signed by Atlantic Records and had a major deal in 1980. That was just we were ready to launch. We had the best people in the biz. We had Ahmet Ertegun and Jerry Wexler, who had just signed Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, signed to us. We had Shelley Finkel and Jim Koplik, who were really,
God, I remember those names.
Yeah, they were promoting the entire Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah,
and that was our team, and we were poised and ready to go. And then the industry just took a dive right when we signed our deal. The industry it went from the most successful fiscal quarter in the history of the music business to one of the worst, and we were caught right in that downdraft, and that deal disappeared almost as quickly as actually it took a long time to make it, and we were locked and ready to go, and then they just pulled the plug on everything in the developmental stages, and we were one of those bands.
Well, we were up on our first commercial break. We're here with Peter J Newland, a musician from the Pioneer Valley, and actually from almost a global stage. But we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back to this edition of InFocus. We're here in the 22 News Plus studios. I'm joined across the desk by Peter J Newland, musician. When we left it before the commercial break, we left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger. 1980, you had said. You and the band Fat and the boys from the Pioneer Valley, you guys you're right there. You're just about to hit the big time. What happened?
We were there, but we were in Miami recording at Criteria Studios. The Allman Brothers were there. Clapton had just left. Ahmet Ertegun, president of Atlantic Records, flies in from the Bahamas, right? Shakes hands, kisses us on the cheek, says, "This is a done deal." The quote is, "We're going to take rock and roll back from the British with you guys."
Nice.
And then within 2 or 3 months, the entire business turns around fiscally. They'd had 12 years of year-to-year growth between 10 and 25% per year. And all of a sudden, we don't have time to get into it now, but the financial, elements of it changed, and they went from the best quarter in the history of the business to the worst right when we got signed. And so it was like we got the phone call from you guys of the Golden Boys to, "Sorry, we're not doing this." And
so how does that affect you mentally and the rest of the band?
Well, I can't speak, I can
generalize.
That's where my story really begins, Patrick. And it's interesting because I'm writing a book about it now. And the beginning of the book is all of these rich, famous, fancy people, and us getting ready to have this career that I dreamed of for 12 years, really since I was a kid, but I've been working on it for 12 years. And I was not prepared for that personally. First of all, it's a tough thing for anybody to take. But I think going back to something that you had said, during our break, there are thousands of people that happens to. So,
absolutely.
Every year. I really took it personally, and I had overt extreme reaction to that, and it sent me on a personal downward spiral
Wow.
for a number of years, and because I was really bitter and I was resentful,
I can imagine.
and I and I think that that's where the interesting story begins, because if I didn't have the story that followed, I don't think I would have written the book. But I meet a guy.
Well, I'm glad you said, because I was just about to ask you, everything leading up to that point is in the downward change in the industry just adds to your creativity and your songwriting. It had to have.
If you can survive it,
Right.
and for me, I discovered that I had some personal, emotional, psychological issues that I had to deal with, because it really compounded the effect of that, on my particular life.
Wow.
So I really, I got sucked into the whole, alcohol, drug thing, and I was mad at the world, and just really not a very. I didn't even like myself.
Really?
And in the process, I was living in Asheville, Massachusetts, and it was right around the time when they were deinstitutionalizing the mental institutions.
Oh, yeah.
So there was 17 people from Belchertown State School living up in a big rooming house up there, and there was a little old man in the middle of that mix, and they were all obviously, we just assumed they were all crazy,
Yeah.
for lack of a better term, but they could get around, and this guy kept bothering me because he wanted to be in my band, and just at a time when I just didn't want to deal with anybody, let alone something like that. And he weaseled his way in there, and we became really good friends. And people had always said to me, and still to this day, they say, "You were so good to that little old man." But the real truth of the matter is that my relationship with him, understanding what he had gone through in 65 years in those institutions, made me finally smarten up and stop wallowing in self-pity. And I would have to say that he saved my life. I'm writing a book about it.
Okay. And you've got a little bit of a song for us right now.
Well, and one of the reasons I'm writing it is because I have I'm weaving my songs into the novel, but this is the first song I wrote, well, actually the second song I wrote about him, that has really captured. No matter where I go when I play this, people want to know more about it, and it's sort of the core of the book. It's called "Waiting for a Train." Almost every morning, he would walk down to the station in a straw hat. They came from Panama. He always wore his Sunday best. He'd shuffle across the platform and sit down on the benches and check the silver pocket watch that he kept chained to his vest. Sometimes I'd bring him coffee. I'd love to sit and listen while he told me about the old days when the iron horse was king. New Orleans to Frisco, Santa Fe to New York City. We traveled down the steel rails to the places that he'd been. He was waiting for a train headed west to see his wife. She left last spring. It broke his heart. And more than 50 years, it's the first time they'd ever been apart. And he don't know if he's coming back again. He was waiting for a train.
That's amazing. And that's only part of it.
That's part of it, and there's a twist in the song itself. but I joined. One of the reasons why I got into a band is I thought to travel the world,
Oh, absolutely.
and villas in the south of France and penthouses in New York, women everywhere, fast cars, fancy clothes. And we did some traveling and I met a lot. I really did meet all my heroes, but mostly we stayed around here. But what I came to find out is that these stories, you don't have to be in Paris, you really don't have to be in Hong Kong. I mean, the real human story happens in common places. And if you're looking to write a universal story, which is what I've always done, I write story songs. I'm a storyteller, but you can write the story with all these famous people in these fancy places, and people like it, but they can't really relate to it. They may go on vacation there a couple times in their lifetime. But when you write a story about two people, just two regular people that bump into each other in a parking lot
in Idaho or Florida can relate.
Right. In a grocery store, here, you want my cart? You know what I mean? That's where real human story happens. And as I began to turn my life around, and I began to understand that I was honored to be in the presence of somebody who had gone through something so far worse than anything I could imagine, and maintain a positive and loving outlook on life, I began to see where the real human stories are. And to me, and I still had my music.
Right.
So, and the other thing that I learned is that I love, crazy rock and roll, Showtime and all that stuff as much as anybody else. But the real essence of what the gift that I had was to be able to just do what I did, and for you to go, that's amazing. And that simple little spark,
that connection,
that ability to, some old couple's anniversary, two kids are over in the corner falling in love. You don't know what it is.
Right.
And when your music filters out and moves within those lives, I have families, I have people come to see me that got married, that met at my show, got married, and we played at their wedding, and they're bringing their grandkids.
I love it.
And so I'll have 3 generations of a family, and to me that is now the thing that really. Don't get me wrong, I'd love a Maserati just as much as anybody else, but those are the things that really turn me on now.
Fantastic. We're upon our second commercial break. We're here with Peter J Newland. We'll be right back after this.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry. This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.
Welcome back, everyone, to this edition of In Focus. I am your host, Patrick Berry. Across the desk from me is Peter J Newland, well-known singer-songwriter from the Springfield area, who we talked earlier in the show, 1980 or so, on the very cusp of becoming the next Rolling Stones, for lack of a better description. And then the music industry change caused a lot of problems in the industry. A lot of problems with you personally, but you've bounced back, you've recovered, you've done a spell in Nashville as a songwriter. You've written for many famous people. Tell me a little bit about post 1980. After the rug is pulled out from you and the band, you were a writer in Nashville for years. You've found your passion. What is your passion?
Well, music is obviously my passion, and but one of the things I did do is I had to go make some money somewhere, because I had never really, you're betting on to come in the music business, and so I went into corporate sales for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And kept on writing, and that was a struggle, because you have to lower the creative bar in order to dedicate your life. But I really had some benchmarks. I wanted to get some money for retirement, and I wanted to get up a little more money so I could go back and do what I love to do. And so I go to Nashville regularly now and record the songs that I'm writing. I think one of the things I'm proud to say is I've kept writing songs, and now for the last 3 years, this book, every step of the way. So my catalog has been building. I know a lot of people that get to a certain point and they stop. I can't. It's that much a part of me. And then I moved back up here around 2000, I think, early in that decade, and put that back together. So we play with that every year. We're playing at the Iron Horse with them on the 27th, our holiday show
of December.
And I like to think now of that Rolling Stones song, "This Could Be the Last Time." Yeah. So I don't want to do that whole Eagles thing about "This Is It," but if you want to hear this
when Hell Freezes Over tour,
well, if the fifth one, right? But if you want to hear this band, you hear them soon. And I have a quintet and I have a trio that I play with.
And it's interesting because you point that out. None of us are getting any younger,
right?
So is the original core members of Fat still playing together? Is everybody still talking to each other?
Yeah. It took a big toll on our friendships, but it was understandable. I mean, it was an explosive thing to try to internalize. And but we've been playing together for the last 20, 25 years. But now people are getting old and either they are not motivated. Sometimes they're not they're as sharp as they are and have just dropped out. So Benji played his last show with us, the drummer. But I'm still playing with Guy DeVito and Jim Kaminsky. And then Michael Benson is still around. I don't know if this is appropriate for your show, but I like to say we didn't make enough money to kill ourselves. So everybody is alive and healthy and living a natural life, shall we say. And we have a very potent show still for a bunch of guys I'm 77, so take it from there.
That leads to my next question. So the show that you're going to do, is it like a 5 p.m. show? Or you guys, rock shows or music shows are usually like 8, 9 o'clock at night. But again, age takes a toll. So are you guys shifting that up to like 4 or 5 in the afternoon? So you're home by 8?
We're not. We start early, not because of me. We start early because the people they come out earlier.
The audience.
You'll catch me at 2 o'clock in the morning playing a 3-hour set. I'll tell you, I can still rock.
That's awesome.
I don't move physically as much as I used to do, but I've got young kids that look at me going, "Are you gonna?" I play for 2.5 hours without stopping.
That is amazing. Over the summer of 2025, you put together a performance at 52 Sumner, one of the best local venues
what a great show. Angela and Joe
Dan.
over there. Professional lighting, professional sound, beautiful open space, run by a great group of people. Going to be there with James Montgomery on October 25th with my band Radio X.
Fantastic. Yeah. Where else can people find your music? Where else can people see you perform? Do you have a social media page or website that people can go to sort of kind of keep tabs on you?
So I have Peter Newland Facebook page and 2 Fat Facebook pages. The other thing that I do now is I have a lounge. I have like a trio that I play in dinner clubs. I play Via Appia on Boston Road every first Saturday. And we do everything from I do a lot of my original material, but I do everything from the Rolling Stones to Frank Sinatra there. And I can, one of the things that I also decided that I wanted to do was to be able to entertain everybody with all this time. You're giving back this time.
Right.
And so you can do what you want. So now if you come in with your parents, if you have a young family and you've got, I don't do the Sesame Street song, although I know some people that do. But I can rock you, and I can sing your parents your grandmother some songs that she
would love
from the Gershwins and Cole Porter.
That is fantastic. Peter J Newland, I cannot thank you enough for giving me some of your time today. This was an absolutely wonderful conversation. Your book comes out late this year, early 2026.
It's going to be finished. We now go back into those same kind of publishing hurdles that I dealt with. But I'm going to be done by the end of the year, and that's going to be nice. It's going to have like 5 or 6 of my new songs in it. So
fantastic! Thank you so much for your time. I greatly appreciate it. Good meeting you.
I got another hour in me.
I wish I did. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
This is 22 News in Focus with Patrick Berry.